Hello and welcome to Victoria's Cantina, where today we're having a look at the McFarlane Toys Game of Thrones Daenerys Targaryen. It's super weird how quality Game of Thrones action figures are very rare. I don't even know if they exist, but every now and then I'll pick one up just to check them out. I haven't been thrilled with really anything that I've bought, but this might be the best effort, at least theoretically. It's a McFarlane Toys release. It's Daenerys Targaryen, my favorite character in all of Game of Thrones. I'm still very bitter about how the series ended and how they butchered her character, really, in my opinion. But this is a relatively new series. Target is carrying them. I got mine on Amazon. It was on a little bit of a sale, so went ahead and grabbed it. And the packaging, as you can see, is pretty simplistic. It's basically just plastic wrapped around a little bit of cardboard. And you can see the figure in there prominently with all of her accessories. It does say this is ages 12 plus, and that it is from HBO, obviously. And it has a Targaryen sigil on the side. Here at the back, it shows the other figures that are available in this wave. So we have Jon Snow, Dany, Night King, Arya, and Viserion. Which is actually pretty cool looking. I thought about getting Viserion, but I haven't done that yet. So I might do that pretty soon. And UPC for anybody that needs it. So, all right, I'm going to take a moment to get the figure unboxed. When we come back, we'll take a closer look. All right, you guys, so here is the figure out of the packaging. And, it's not a great likeness. I mean, that's not really a surprise when you see the figure even in the packaging, but having it out of the packaging, it doesn't look awful. It doesn't look great. It doesn't even look like very good. I mean, the silhouette of the figure itself, I think, looks quite great. She's got very nice proportions. She looks screen accurate, but then when you get to the face, it just kind of falls apart. I do think the costume is very nicely done. Again, her proportions are very nice and they do look screen accurate to my eye. I would also say that the colors that they chose for the outfit look very nice. There really is some nice texturing sculpted into her garments. But I feel like you can have the nicest looking outfit in the world. You can have the nicest sculpted body in the world, but if your face doesn't look like the character, it's almost like, what's the point? Now, the head sculpt itself, I don't think that it's terrible. I just feel like it's not quite where it needs to be. I think part of the fault is certainly with the paint. If the paint were a little bit better, sure, it would look a little bit more accurate, but I still don't think the sculpt is completely there. I mean, even at angles or at a profile, it doesn't look like Emilia Clarke, like, at all. One thing that I find really weird about it is if you look at the eyes, like, they're sculpted kind of bulging out. If I hold it like that, you can kind of see what I mean. The eyes are just kind of bulging out, and I don't know why they sculpted it that way. It's a little weird. It's a little bit weird. I feel like it looks a little bit masculine. It doesn't look quite where it needs to be. It looks like maybe a really good cosplayer, but it doesn't look like Daenerys Targaryen, and I find that highly disappointing. As far as the paint goes, like I said, it's not perfect. It is painted nicely. The paint operations themselves, I don't agree with, but it is painted nicely. The skin tone, you can see there's a little bit of blush on her cheeks. She is a little bit pasty looking, but so is the case in the show. So, I mean, that much is correct, I guess. The lips are a very nice color. They seem to match the cape pretty well. And the eyes are very nice. They are very visible. But again, it doesn't look like Dany, so they painted it nicely. They just didn't paint it to look like Dany, so that is a little frustrating. Now the hair, you can also see is very nicely sculpted. It's very nicely textured. There's actually a lot of sculpted detail going on there. Like, that is really nice. The problem I have is that the paint is kind of strange. Like, you can see the top of her hair looks more white, and then the sides look a little bit more like blonde, I guess. So they didn't do a good job of matching the hair color. Also, like, when you get down here, it's like just really flimsy. I don't like this. I don't know. It just seems kind of cheap. It seems like that could tear. And then there is a little bit, it looks like, of a wash that might have been applied to the hair here. So I don't think that looks very good. It ends up looking just like wet, matted hair. So yeah, that is pretty strange. Now, I did say the rest of the costume is really good, and it is. It looks very nice. It is textured very well. You can see that all the little sculpted details in there. This little chain detail is nicely done. It is painted nicely as well, as is the little clasp that goes onto her cloak back here, or her little cape or scarf, whatever you want to call it. And this does look really nice. It is sculpted nicely. It's painted nicely. It's got a nice matte finish to it, and it very much resembles her dragons. So that is pretty cool. The hands look pretty nice. Very simple. There's a ring. Is that supposed to be a ring? I don't know. That might just be like scratched paint. Yeah, so underneath here, you can see this is kind of pliable. It does have slits here on the sides of her dress. So you can see she does have legs underneath, and they're basically just pants. She's wearing boots. Those look great. They are sculpted nicely. Again, very nice matte finish here. There's one peg on her right foot. And yeah, it just comes down to the likeness. I mean, like I said, the hair looks nice, especially that detail on the back of the braid is pretty nice, but it's not colored right. It's not colored uniformly to the top of her head, and it doesn't look like the character. So I have major problems with the aesthetics of the figure. Now, I do see some QC issues. The first one being, if you look here on her cheek, there's like some blue paint or some, like, I don't know, like gray paint. And then if you look at her chin, it looks like there's a little bit of a mark there. I don't know if that's from the sculpting or what would have caused that. And then another little bit of silver paint right there on her dress. So not perfect in terms of QC. And it does seem like this is a ring right here, but the silver was not painted on the sculpted part of the ring. It was painted like a little bit above. So those issues certainly are notable. Now, in terms of articulation, so the figure does have a joint here at the bottom of the neck. So the head and the neck are seamless. It's all one piece, and it seems like it's a ball joint. So movement is actually decent on there. Here at the shoulder, she has insert molded joints. Same thing here at the elbows. So as far as that bend goes, you get a little more than 90 degrees, about 90 degrees. And of course, those come out. You can rotate them. At the wrists, they appear to be on a type of ball joint because you can kind of move them in any which way direction you want. Same with the right. They both kind of do the same thing. It does look like her hands are sculpted to hold accessories. However, there isn't really anything she comes with that she can really hold. We'll look at the accessories in just a little bit and see how that works. Here at the waist, it's kind of hard to tell because I don't think there is a joint at her torso from what I can. Actually, you know what? I think there is. There is a joint here at the torso. I'm not sure if it's just a swivel or if it's on a type of ball and socket hinge of some sort, but yeah, there is a joint there. At both of the hips, you can move them forward. And again, they kind of, obviously get restrained by her dress, but let's see, do they go out? As we're looking up here, her dress. Yeah, I mean, the joints in there, yeah, they go out a little bit. Yeah, a little bit, not a whole lot. Both of the knees, you can see there is a single bend, and they're pretty fluid. And then here at the ankles, you do have another ball hinge. So really nice movement there, actually. Pretty impressed with that. So overall, it is nicely articulated. One thing I do want to remark is that all the joints seem to be pretty fluid. They're not stiff. It has nice movement to it. So that is a pretty good thing that McFarlane did with the figure. For our accessories, we have 3 map markers, and these basically represent Daenerys' forces. And right here we have the Unsullied map marker. You can see it's basically just kind of like a bronze color. It's casted in a pretty rigid plastic. No articulation or anything to it. So yeah, looks pretty good. We then have the Dothraki map marker, and again, really nicely sculpted for such a small piece. But I mean, these are, really not meant to do a whole lot other than kind of just stand around. And then we have the Martell map marker right here. So again, nicely sculpted for such a small piece. So overall, these are pretty cool. They're not ideal accessories, I don't think, but hey, they're better than nothing. We also get a Game of Thrones display stand to work with the figure to keep her propped up on your shelf. And as you can see, it's basically just like a very glossy plastic. It looks a little bit scuffed up. And this is the back, not really anything to see there. As far as getting the figure on the stand, we can see if she pegs into it. And yeah, kind of. There is a bit of a gap there. It's not the best fit. I mean, it'll work. It'll work. It just, you kind of run into this issue on figures sometimes when they don't peg in all the way on their stands, where the figure will stand on it, but sometimes it's a little bit lopsided. Since she does have that joint though at her torso, you can kind of compensate for that just a little bit. So that does seem to help to some extent. All right, so now let's do a little comparison. On the left, we have our McFarlane Daenerys Targaryen, and on the right, we have our Funko Legacy Collection Daenerys Targaryen, at least one of the figures that they made. And I picked that one up a really long time ago, and I always thought it was an okay figure for what it was. The Funko ones were 6-inch scale, whereas the McFarlane figures for this line are going to be 7-inch scale, so obviously you have that really noticeable size difference. As far as the likenesses go, I don't know. I kind of feel like perhaps the Funko is a little bit better. But then I look at it here on the camera screen and I don't know, not really. I mean, neither of them are right. I don't know, maybe the McFarlane's a little bit better. What do you guys think? Let me know. I'm not really sure which one I would say is more accurate. I think the McFarlane one certainly painted more nicely, but maybe the sculpt is more accurate on this one. I don't know. Neither of them really looks like Daenerys. I mean, they both look like, really good cosplayers, I guess. But yeah, hopefully one day a company like SH Figure Arts or Medicom or somebody will bring out a really nice Daenerys figure that has like photoreal like paint apps and beautiful sculpt. And even if it costs a premium, I mean, if these are the options for having to pay for one really nice figure, I think I'd be willing to shell out the money for a really nice Daenerys Targaryen, but these just aren't cutting it for me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so there you have it. This is the McFarlane Toys Game of Thrones Daenerys Targaryen 7-inch scale action figure. Overall, you guys, I'm kind of mixed on it. I'm mixed because her silhouette is very nice. Her sculpting on the costume looks fantastic. The paint apps on the costume look fantastic. And the articulation is very fluid all around. However, the likeness just isn't doing it for me. I don't think it looks like a good likeness at all. It really doesn't look like Emilia Clarke. It doesn't look like Daenerys Targaryen. It's just not where it needs to be. I do appreciate McFarlane Toys bringing Game of Thrones figures back to retail, but when I look at the things Hasbro's been doing with the Black Series and with Marvel Legends and their photoreal paint techniques, and then I look at this, which costs the same as those figures, and I feel like, come on guys, what's going on? Now, companies like McFarlane Toys are catering almost exclusively to adult collectors, so I feel like their offerings should be at least on par with what Hasbro is doing, if not superior, and this just doesn't feel like it's hitting that mark. I do like the map marker accessories. I think they look nice, they're fun, and the display stand, I don't feel like it's really warranted, it's not really needed, but I'll take it, it's an accessory. To me, it just really comes down to that likeness, and it doesn't look like Dany, and that frustrates me quite a bit. So again, hopefully there's a company out there that will give us a proper Daenerys Targaryen figure at some point, because there's not really a lot of them out there. I know 3.0 did a 1/6 scale figure that looks okay. It still doesn't look that great for the price point. But if this is the best we're going to get in the smaller sized 7-inch scale, then I find that to be a bit disappointing. So, hopefully McFarlane continues the toy line. I don't think I'm going to be picking up any of the rest. I just wanted this one because, again, huge Daenerys Targaryen fan. She's my favorite character on the series. And probably one of my top 3 characters in like all of movies and television. I just adore her. So I find it especially infuriating that we don't have a great figure of her that I can put on the shelf. But all in all, it's not terrible. It's just not where it needs to be for what they're trying to sell us. So can't really recommend it to you unless you're a huge Daenerys fan or a huge Game of Thrones fan, in which case maybe you'll like it more than I do. Alright my friends, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts down below. Will you be picking this figure up? What do you think about the likeness? As always, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to Victoria's Cantina. Until next time, bye bye.